Today I am hanging out with Juliet from Automatic Love Letter. How are you doing today?
That's me.
That is her.
Been quite a couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What you expected?
Crazier.
Crazier how?
Hey bitches. Okay, just a little disclaimer before the disclaimer. I said that I'm not uploading content on this channel anymore, but then I started getting ideas of stuff that I actually do want to talk about. So I'm just gonna say, like, in this video right here, right now, if you want to subscribe, you can. I can't promise content, like, on a consistent schedule. It's just kind of when these ideas come to me. And now, disclaimer 2. This video is just my opinion. We all have opinions. We are all free to voice them. Also, for legal purposes, Juliet Simms, Lilith Czar, whatever you call yourself, don't sue me. Alright, let's get into it. So, as stated in my Scout Andy Juliet deep dive, I am not a hater. Just a former fan of Juliet's trying to state my opinion on the internet, because if you wanted to, you could also do that. And I know people are gonna be like, but how does this affect you as a person and parasocial relationships and blah blah blah. It's like, it doesn't affect me as a person, but my channel is dedicated to emo content and MySpace nostalgia content, stuff like that. So this is a topic that will come up. Fans, you're welcome to chime in and add your own insight on whether or not this rebrand caught you off guard. Because, spoiler alert, when I was a fan of her and all this happened, I was like, rebrand? What? It did. It caught me off guard, and then I just stopped listening to her because I was like, I'm not that interested. Next, I will give you a brief overview on Juliet's life and a little bit on Automatic Love Letter. I won't get super into details. Like, this is not a deep dive. If you want more of a deep dive, I suggest my previous video on a subject involving her, the Scout Taylor Compton, Andy Biersack, Juliet Simms deep dive. If I can link it, I will. If I can't, it's somewhere on the channel. Juliet Nicole Simms was born on February 26, 1986 in San Francisco, California. When she was young, around 8 years old or 9 years old, her family relocated to Clearwater, Florida. Yes, her family is full of Scientologists. It's not known whether she's still involved in Scientology as an adult, but people have their suspicions. And then the fact that she's married to Andy, who was not a Scientologist, but then apparently got something from the Scientology handbook or guidebook or whatever you call it tattooed on him. People thought that was a little weird. In 2005, she forms a band called Stars and Scars, named after a song that she wrote. And it's her brother Tommy, and a bunch of random dudes. It sounds like I'm being shady, but I promise you I'm not being shady. So Stars and Scars would eventually rebrand and change their name to Automatic Love Letter, which, to be honest, is very appropriate and very fitting considering her name is Juliet. Now, would Automatic Love Letter still hit if every time you watched an interview she was like, "Hi, my name is Deborah, and this is my band Automatic Love Letter"? No. The fact that her name is Juliet and she's in a band called Automatic Love Letter is just perfect. Like I said, they were originally called Stars and Scars, which came from that song that Juliet wrote. When I say that there are a bunch of random people involved in this band, I really do mean it, because if you look up Automatic Love Letter and you go to the Wikipedia, you will see the section that says past members, and I counted, there are literally 8 random dudes. So when we think about Automatic Love Letter, it's essentially just Juliet and Tommy, if we're being, nice. If I feel like being nice, Tommy Simms exists, and he was a part of Automatic Love Letter. If you go back and watch Automatic Love Letter interviews, it's just her being like, "Hi, I'm Juliet, here's my brother Tommy," and then she, like, introduces, like, 2 more dudes, but they don't matter. No shade. I know it sounds shady, but it's like, this band was a jumping off point for her solo career. I've always thought that, and I will continue to say this, and this will come up in this video, because I say that a lot. And again, I don't mean it in like a shady way or, "Oh my god, she's such a piece of shit." Like, no, I mean, do what you have to do, but it's kind of weird. Not weird. Weird is probably the wrong word, but I mean, like, it's kind of like convenient, that she would be like, oh, I'm in a band, and then she's just not in the band anymore, and then she's Juliet Simms, and it's just, I'll get more into it, but yeah. Do I think Automatic Love Letter was just a cover-up for something else? Yeah, I do. Juliet finally acoustically laid down all of the songs she had written for the past 3 years, because she was just writing and being like, one day I hope I get signed. I think. Keyword I. Because again, spoiler alert, Automatic Love Letter was essentially the Juliet Simms project, in my opinion. So yes, Automatic Love Letter is now a thing, but it's kind of like Hayley Williams saying Paramore is a band. You can say you're in a band all you want, but when you're the only girl in that band, the focus will always be on you. By 2007, Automatic Love Letter was signed and working on an EP that would never be released. So Juliet was working with Matt Squire, who knew All Time Low. That's how she got on Remembering Sunday. I love that song. I really do. Anyway, back to the lore. Then they actually do release an EP called Recover. Then they released another EP, but this one was self-titled. By 2010, the band released their first album called Truth or Dare. A year later, they ended up releasing an acoustic album called The Kids Will Take Their Monsters On, which, if I'm remembering correctly, was kind of like a Warped Tour exclusive. Because it didn't start popping up on eBay and Depop and all that stuff until much later. Like, you had to go to Warped Tour to get this album. It was an acoustic album. There were about 11 songs. When Juliet was writing that album, like, there's a song called The Curtain Close, which essentially she talks about how, oh, Warped Tour is ending, I'm so sad, but at the same time, there's, like, undertones of, like, I'm hooking up with Andy. Basically, the entire album is that, but more specifically on that last song, if you really know the lore, it's kind of crazy looking back on that song. And that entire project as a whole, because it's like, what do you mean you went on Warped Tour and then fell in love with this dude and then wrote an entire album, but it was just a mess. It was a mess. Because even just saying, like, she went on Warped Tour and fell in love with a dude, like, it makes it sound like, okay, but it's because the whole thing was messy. And again, if you'd like to know all the tea, there's another video specifically about that. But yeah, they released the acoustic album, they're on Warped Tour, it's all a thing. Then, next year, 2012, Juliet goes on The Voice. Yes, before Cassidy from Hey Monday was on The Voice, the first emo girly to go on The Voice was Juliet. In my opinion, she did it to get more exposure, and I mean, nothing wrong with that. Like, at the time I was a fan, so I would watch The Voice, and I voted for her, and I was like, I want her to win. Unfortunately, she came as a runner-up. She did not win, she was a runner-up, but she did end up being on CeeLo's team, and then she ended up signing with Universal Records as a solo artist. Meanwhile, the fans of Automatic Love Letter are kind of confused, honestly. Because they're like, well, if she's a solo artist now, what's going to happen with Automatic Love Letter? Like, are they still together? And then it was just, like, a bunch of silence. It was very awkward. And so it's assumed that Automatic Love Letter disbanded because she went on The Voice. So after The Voice ends, she releases a single called Wild Child. That song was so good. After the whole Voice era, it comes out that Automatic Love Letter officially was disbanded at this point. But like I mentioned previously, in my opinion, the band in itself was just the Juliet Simms project. Like, whether she intentionally was like, I want to be a solo artist, but no one's paying attention to me, so let me just start a band. Whether that's what happened, or she actually did, I don't know, put effort into this band of being like, we're Automatic Love Letter, you know? It's kind of 50-50. People can believe what they want, but in my opinion, I really believe that that band was just the Juliet Simms project. Because I'm telling you, nobody paid attention to anybody except her. I don't care what anyone says. So after The Voice, she releases 3 EPs and some singles under Juliet Simms. She's still Juliet Simms. It's all going good. She has hype from being on The Voice. But then the plane incident happens, which I just realized I never mentioned in my deep dive. Because, again, I didn't want to get sued, but I already put my disclaimer so I can get into this. The plane incident happens, she hits Andy on a plane and then tries to turn it like he's being abusive, and it's a whole thing, and it's a lot. She stays silent for a while, but then eventually does issue an quote-unquote apology. This is where things get kind of weird, kind of wild, kind of crazy. In her last music video, she kills Juliet, and it's all very dramatic. And after that video is released, there's like radio silence for a while until she comes back and she's like, Juliet Simms is dead, Lilith Czar has risen, and please don't ask me how I remember that verbatim. I do not know, it just came from the depths of my soul. Anyway, so yeah, by 2021 she had rebranded as Lilith Czar and continues to release music. She was on tour with the Pretty Reckless for a while. She's just doing that. She's signed to Sumerian Records, which is also the home of Black Veil Brides. Some people say that the only reason she signed to that label is because Andy is signed and they're very connected. Like, yes, they're married, but they're also, like, weirdly connected. Add the Scientology ties into that and believe what you will, I guess. So, all in all, I do think Juliet used the Lilith Czar rebranding to try and hide from all the shady shit she did as Juliet Simms. Again, this is just my opinion. An opinion I've had since all this happened. And by shady shit, I mean the Scout Taylor Compton stuff, the plane incident, the way it never felt like Automatic Love Letter was like a real band. Because you would think Automatic Love Letter and you'd be like, oh, Juliet. Like, nobody else. I haven't thought about Tommy Sims since like 2008. As much as she would go in these interviews and be like, it's me and my brother and this is our like thing that we created. It's like, no, it's you and random dudes. That's what Automatic Love Letter is. Yes, you write all the songs, you're very talented, but it's you. Automatic Love Letter is the Juliet Simms show. And to end this, I just want to say again that these are just my opinions. You're free to disagree. Fans, you're free to chime in about the rebrand specifically, because that's really the point of this video. This video is not to talk shit or throw shade or anything. It's just something that I've had on my mind since that music video where she killed Juliet, and I was like, well, where are we gonna go from here? And then that's where we went from here with Lilith Czar, and I was like, what is she doing? And then it's a lot.